When you think of a plant, you probably picture something, well, something that just sits there, right? Silent, still, kind of static. But what if I told you that the plant world is actually buzzing with movement and reaction? There's a secret coordination happening all around us. So today, let's pull back the curtain on the secret world of how plants move.
And that brings us to the biggest puzzle of all. We've got nerves and muscles to make things happen. Plants? They have neither. So how on earth do they do it? How do they respond to the world around them? It seems totally impossible, but it turns out they have some really clever tricks up their sleeves.
So, our first clue comes from this absolutely fascinating plant. You might know it as the sensitive plant or the touch-me-not. Some people call it chui-mui. Whatever you call it, this little plant is going to help us crack one of the biggest mysteries of plant behavior.
If you've ever been lucky enough to see one of these, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You give it just a gentle touch, and boom, its little leaves just collapse, folding inward and drooping down like they're shy or something. It's such a dramatic, immediate response. It kind of breaks all the rules for how we think plants are supposed to act.
And we're not talking about a slow, gradual change here. This movement is fast, seriously quick. And that speed is what makes it so wild. It feels more like an animal's reflex than anything you'd expect from a plant. So, how is that even possible?
And here it is. This is the big clue. The plant isn't growing to make this happen. It's not getting bigger or smaller. The movement is completely separate from its growth process. That means it must have some other system, some other mechanism for this rapid-fire reaction. Hang on to that thought, because we're about to look at a totally different kind of movement.
Okay, so let's switch gears. We're going to look at another type of plant movement now, one you've definitely seen before, but it works on a completely different principle.
Just picture a tiny seed starting to sprout in the soil. It isn't reacting to anything in a split second. Nope. Instead, it's on this slow, deliberate mission. This isn't a reflex, it's a journey. And it perfectly shows off the second type of plant movement we need to understand. And this journey is all about slow, steady progress. First, the seed cracks open. Then, the root starts pushing its way down, searching for water and a solid foothold. At the same time, the stem pushes up, reaching for that vital sunlight. This isn't a reaction to a touch. This is a construction project. Every single movement is a fundamental part of the plant actually building itself. And what this tells us is that for a seedling, movement is growth. They're the same thing. If you could somehow pause the plant's ability to grow, all that directional movement would just stop. It's a world away from the touch-me-not's quick little reflex, right?
Okay, so we've got these two very different examples. We have the super fast, reactive, touch-me-not, and then we have the slow, methodical seedling. So now let's put it all together and finally solve this puzzle of how plants get things done. It turns out plants basically have two different playbooks for movement. On one side, you've got what's called growth-independent movement. This is the super fast stuff, triggered by something happening outside the plant, like a touch. And on the other side, you have growth-dependent movement. This is the slow and steady kind, and it's driven by the plant's own internal mission to just grow.
So, to put a pin in that first idea, growth-independent movement is all about that quick response. You can think of it as a plant's version of a reflex. It's a defensive move, an adaptive action, and it doesn't have to wait for the slow process of building new cells to happen. And then there's the second type, growth-dependent movement. This is all about the long game, orientation and expansion. It's how a plant finds its place in the world, sending roots down and stems up, all through the very act of growing. The movement literally is the growth.
So why is this distinction so important? Well, because it shows that plants, which we usually just see as these passive things, are actually making complex choices. They're deciding how to interact with their world. Do I react instantly to this threat, or do I invest my energy in this slow, deliberate growth? It just reveals this whole layer of sophistication that we almost never give them credit for.
All right, so let's pull all this together. What have we found out? Well, first, plants are not passive decorations. They are actively responding to their world, even without a nervous system. They do this using two brilliant strategies, one for those fast defensive reactions and another for the slow, essential journey of growth. This dual system reveals a hidden and pretty amazing level of complexity in the plant kingdom. And that leaves us with one final, really cool question to chew on. We've just barely scratched the surface here. If plants have figured out these ingenious nerve-free systems for something as basic as movement, just imagine, what other secret abilities are they hiding, right there in plain sight,
just waiting for us to notice.